Hi. This week is stop or a pause. And at the beginning of the week, there was a real sense of stop. Legs were broken, batteries didn't start, jobs were taken off to do a job or work that sustained away from what normally was done. There was this sense of stop. And actually for myself, it was just a pause. It was a simple pause of the battery not starting. And RACV came out, it wasn't a battery and it wasn't a starter motor. Tow truck to the mechanic who said, it's a battery. Go figure. But what it did is, having to cancel the people I was going to see, which I love to do, all of a sudden being home, there was this immense reset of how much I love to do these sessions. And in a sense, it's increased that energy. When we have a habit of doing things and managing our life and having our routine with the spontaneity sprinkled in between, there still is that you end up managing. And what happened just with that slight day off, this resurgence of energy to love what I'm doing. So these pauses or having to stop, literally stop, was very much the theme this week. And it took the flavour of really resetting something very deep that's been there the whole of your life. You were born with it. You can't even see it. How do you address something you can't even see unless an awareness is brought to it, or a reset, or an ability to go, it stops here. How do I move forward now? And that forward moving has an energy of feeling afresh. This morning in the sauna with a friend of mine, she had this dream. And this dream felt so reviving because it was a download of where she wants the energy to go. And, you notice that when that energy isn't there, you tend to feel tired and old and what am I doing here? So this breakthrough is so delicious, so fresh. There also is the breakthrough on those who feel that thinking and thinking more is the breakthrough. Yeah? And then there was one in particular that I will share that spoke more clearly the energy behind all of this. And then are those who just are really good people with really good habits that doesn't lead anywhere except attempting to keep that habit going because we identify with that goodness. So when this energy arrives and that pause to really reflect so that you can see what energizes me going forward, what needs to be in place, what do I really need to assess here, and what happens in that, especially those that were stuck in a habit, because these habits they're like freight trains. They don't stop, and they're long, and they're so identified in our lives to keep going, to always show up, to work, to not stop, and I can't stop because if I stop, I might never start again. That energy that comes from mind. And when that energy had a pause, what was missing was the connection to source that downloads, that comes to you like it did to my friend. And what happens is this feeling of, oh my God, I want to do it, it feels like nothing. And this whole world shows up to enter into where we are reset, we are revived, we are re-energized because the energy found that way. In one being, this habit of always being there, wanting to be the solution, doing whatever I can to move it forward, had to be tempered with, in this energy, it has to be solution orientated. It isn't just sitting there, taking it all, allowing it all, being generous with it all. It was, if an issue comes up, what's the forward solution? It can be a tiny solution, but it has to have some sort of solution in the interaction. And that energy then resets that desire to say yes to it and keep it open. Some were so deeply who they are, and the depth of it is so wonderful that what they take on in the world is quite massive. And when that obstruction comes, that stops the depth of what that is, it then can be that when others don't meet them, that they take it personally, because they so deeply feel who they are, and there's no stepping away from what that is. But when you feel that so strongly, I have a saying, I cannot have my opinion if I don't give you your opinion. Your opinion does not alter that sense of core that I feel and know about a sense of how I see it. And it's the same for all of, there isn't a fight there. Another person's opinion is not, it's not personal, it's their opinion. And opinions change. So being able to listen and hear it, and there are times when how they see it gives me an insight of what else is out there to factor in. After all, evolution is slow. It's actually quite a slow process, but it certainly has a build-up at the moment that this weekend showed. It was very exciting. So the pushing of the brain and trying harder, it's, I relate it to mental masturbation, but you never come, or it never comes. And it is the most frustrating, hitting head against a wall. And there's no solution there. It doesn't further, it doesn't bring anything to the surface. So when it realigns again with the right side of the brain and that connection to all that is, these downloads come that the mind can actually run with, because in that energy, the effortlessness appears in and it works, and we never know what's going to come next. My friend did not know this dream would appear that has steps to a reality that is so exciting moving forward. But until this energy came and that burst through, it's been tiring, it's been exhausting. We've needed this reset, whether through a pause or in the ability to actually stop. There were also energies where they're so committed in life when they meet a situation or an issue or a group, they're so committed. And with this one energy, it was interesting because it was like, take your wedding ring off. And the wedding ring came off, and there was a stress of, but I love that feeling of married, and it happened to be in relationship to her work. Her work, she was married to her work. She's married to her work, to her friends, to her community, to her overseas community. She's married. But the ring needed to be taken off, because in many ways, to have a pause is to realise we're at the engagement phase. And things need to be worked out to see whether the others are just enjoying engagement and everything that comes with it, but never go to that marriage. And to be able to see those that are married and those that are never wanting to get married, and those that have that potential, and I'm engaged with the view of that marriage which I desire. Because to be married before the others join you can be a huge energy that has to carry it all the time, and not necessarily ever get to what that is that just feels effortless in that marriage when we're joined in that, and what we can bring through when that is happening at work. So beautiful, the strength of that commitment, but the pain of that commitment, having done that over and over and over again, and the pain involved in that not being met. That means engagement until such time it fully feels the marriage, and then get married. So the energy that I wish to share with one that came along that sort of really explained what the heck this energy was all about. And she came in, and it's like we're here. And what had happened is she was speaking about the issues and the concerns and how frustrating, and I'm over it, and I don't know how I'm going to keep going, and it was just this, and I was sitting there because all I could feel was this peace, this absolute calmness that it was like I was feeling her energy of peace around her, and to an extent I had never felt the depth of that peace. So it was like, what's going on here? Because the energy I'm feeling here does not explain all this stuff that was being brought up. And what had happened was, whatever the issues were here had brought about an energy that was going right through her life, and it exploded into this hysterical temper tantrum. I've had enough. It was hysterical. And I can understand with the life lived how, I've done it here, I've done it there, I've done it there, and then here, and with that, and all these different aspects that life can bring up, to eventually come to a point where that has to come out. But what showed up was this line here had okay written all over it. So this is where okay is, and that okay is, it feels normal to me. It feels something I just turn up, and that sense of normality and being who I am, and things always having a sense of resolving, being present. So all these issues here actually turned out to be steps. They were just steps with little boxes that needed to be communicated very clearly, and it was the perfect time for that to happen. When we move house, when businesses move, when we take a new job, or where there are pivotal times where these things fit better, when we start cooperating with others, that's when this energy is very useful. And if you're going through something like that, now is the time to use that energy to say, these are the things that need to be in place that I can communicate, because when that's there, it's okay. So the communication will be sent. Then could be this box, this box, this box, this box is responded to. Great. Now we communicate these boxes, because when those boxes also get resolved, then everything is okay. So just because things haven't worked out here, doesn't mean that with that frustration, that energy, that fabulous energy that knows exactly what it is, can then communicate it and keep at it until those boxes are ticked. Because if you let that box and that box go, you'll just be under okay. So stick with it until the boxes are ticked off. And, you know, it can take time, but there's that sense of self with the energy that knows where that okayness sits. And what feels true to you. Now, of course, all these bits are issues as they were in the past. And the two cards that were pulled this week were issues and process. Because at the end of the day, it's through issues, whether they be inspirational or whether they are to do with meeting and overcoming and the ability to move forward. It's these issues and processes that give us a sense of meeting ourselves. Whatever's out there is an opportunity of meeting yourself. If there were no issues, because even when you love to do something and it feels like nothing, there are issues. The thing is, when that energy is there like it's nothing, the bumps in the road, you don't even notice them. But others will notice every pebble and every bump and will say it's not normal, there shouldn't be any bumps. Then how do you get to meet yourself? So there are opportunities. Issues. Identify and face your issues. Yes, it may feel uncomfortable, but how many times do you wish to travel the same road? Current issues that you have been working on are being resolved. Other forces are at work here. Take your time and know that all the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle will slot in eventually. And of course, this is a process. Allow and enjoy the process without rushing to the goal. Experiences are part of the journey. You don't have to understand them all to enjoy the process. And that's that sense of trust and knowing it will all resolve. Now is the time to look at how you approach and do things. Perhaps make some changes. For what worked for you in the past may not necessarily be the best process in the future. What fabulous energy to turn that into steps and process, and in that get to see who you are, how you meet it in a way that you also behave in such a way that you prefer to deal with things. Very exciting. It was such a wonderful weekend. Lots of love.